when were you last around the bargaining table? And how has this government received, I'm assuming you're doing the same thing, you're suggesting dates. Are they being more receptive to the NZNO than they're obviously being to the NZPPTA?
Well, we have actually been around the table very recently, but not before we had to go into mediation because we were getting absolutely nowhere. And the result of the mediation wasn't satisfactory for either side. So we have gotten round the table. But the problem with our negotiations is that the team keeps changing. So this is actually really quite problematic because it means that we have to keep going back to square one. And quite often the people who are in the team don't have the authority to make any decisions. So we're talking to people who can say whatever they like, but they can't commit to anything, and they don't bring anything to the table that we can actually work with. It's the same old every single time. You know, I understand in the last session that they did put back on the table that they might look at some of the things that they had withdrawn 6 months earlier. And this is yet another problem that's happening. We started off well. We started talking about things, for instance, like having recognition of the extra work that Maori and Pacifica nurses bring to the table because they are constantly asked to intervene when patients who are Maori or Pacifica need particular types of cultural safe care, which a lot of our mainstream nurses, despite the fact that they're New Zealanders, still are unable to provide. And have them recognised and pay. Now, we were talking about that. It got removed from the table. And just recently, they said that they might start talking about it again. But we've been in negotiations for a year. And this stop-start business, changing the team that we're talking to over and over again, is not useful. And, you know, the employer has a vested interest in doing this. It's called stalling. The longer they stall, the less money they have to pay because they're under no obligation to pay us any kind of back pay to the start date. Like
Well,
they
Luxon has
used to.
Luxon has said that in the press in the last 2 days specifically. He has said, and it came across to me as a threat, we will not be paying back pay. So every day they don't make a deal, they're losing money. He has literally said that to the camera in this week's news.
Absolutely. So the employer, Te Whatu Ora, who is under orders from the current government to put budget before people, are doing exactly that. The longer they stall, the less they have to actually pay. And we're coming up very quickly to the end of October where technically we'll all be on individual contracts instead of a national collective. It's been going on that long. Now, I
When
don't
is
know whether they're interested in actually doing 35,000 odd individual contracts with us. I'm sure they're not. But they've got no reason to hurry. And then we've got an election coming up. They've got even less reason to hurry.
have you got a date for the next time you're round? Have you got a date for the next time you're round the table?
I'm not on the negotiating team, so no, I don't have that date. But we will continue to actually turn up. And we have actually turned up, and that the other side hasn't turned up on occasion. So, you know, that's pretty useless.
Do you mean literally?
And
Do you mean? Hang on, hang on. Do you mean you've literally gone to a meeting and sat in a room where no one's turned up
the
from the other
negotiating
side?
team has actually turned up for meeting dates that they've agreed on, and they haven't come. Yes.
Wow.
Pat, the fire union posted a very similar image today where they were around the negotiating table and the other side of the table was empty.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've been trying to find that.
You know, this is, but hang on, but I think that we're obviously not smart enough to know what's going on, because this is the government of business and this is the prime minister who knows how to negotiate contracts. So we're obviously we're missing something here, that obviously this is a professional and appropriate tactic that's being used to not turn up to negotiate a contract, while you're fucking telling the public that these guys have to get up and get around the table to negotiate. That's what infuriates me from last night. When I realized this edit is like, he is standing in front of the camera. He did it again tonight at the news. They just need to get back to the table. Why haven't you said yes to some of the October dates then? Why weren't you there when the fire service turned up? Why weren't you there when the NZO turned up for those certain dates? You're not even around the table when you've set dates. It's infuriating from this side of things.
And why did they threaten the doctors? They threatened the doctors and said that they had to go to arbitration. Of course, Sarah Dalton said no. You know, we're not having somebody take over and tell us what we need.
Yeah.
We know what we need. We need enough money and safe work conditions to actually keep our people here. Encourage our young ones to go into medicine, nursing, physiotherapy, and all those sorts of things, and decide to stay here in New Zealand. But we've got nothing. We have nothing to keep them here.